Now, only on 6, for the first time, engineers who investigated the collapse of Champlain Towers South are going public with where they think the first failure in the structure occurred that morning nearly 3 years ago.
And one of those engineers spoke exclusively today to NBC6 investigator Tony Pipitone. He joins us with more. Tony.
You know, there have been many theories thrown around about the cause of this collapse, but today I sat down with one of the engineers in a position to know best, hired by the Condo Association's receiver to investigate the collapse. And this week, they reveal publicly where they think the first fatal flaw emerged, leading to the loss of 98 lives. In the Fort Lauderdale offices of WIS, Janney, and Elstner, engineer Matthew Fadden has been piecing together the how and why of the collapse.
And there's not just one finger to point at one person.
No, there never is with anything like this.
We know the building was improperly designed and constructed, errors compounded by unwise modifications, causing it to be further degraded, especially on the pool deck that started to collapse 7 to 12 minutes before the rest of the building began to crumble. But where did it all begin? In this webinar released Tuesday, we learned his team's best conclusion.
That there were punching shear failures in the pool deck, and that pool deck then applied loads to the building that then collapsed the structure. Punching
shear, he demonstrated with pen and paper.
Is a mechanism essentially where the deck would come down and the column punches through, right? That's all it is.
And it was here on the west edge of the pool deck where they think the first failure occurred. The column here, called L13.1, and here, K13.1.
They're both in the pool deck area, and we have photos of both of those issues.
This is November 13th, 2020, about 8 months before the actual collapse.
The webinar showed this composite photo of L13.1 seen from the parking garage.
In L13.1, we see water coming in along the face of the column, and which is very indicative of punching shear related distress.
And then these photos, taken just 3 weeks before the collapse, showing large cracks and planters just west of that column. And what supported the deck there?
K13.1, which is actually the most heavily loaded column, we believe, on that pool deck.
So if there was a first one to go, it would have been?
K13.1, and punching shear certainly is the mechanism that brought down the building. It is almost, with very high certainty.
A final determination will come from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, likely in another year or so. Next to NIST, Fadden and his colleagues have been closest to the evidence, and it's led to this conclusion. Sometime between April 2020, when the planters appeared sound, and June 2021, when the big cracks appeared, the pool deck slab began to bend. Then, beginning around 1:10 that morning, the initial failure, followed by nearby columns punching through the deck around 1:15 a.m. That loss of stability on the deck was so great, 7 minutes later, the towers to the north and east could no longer stand. Now, the court-appointed receiver for Champlain Towers South hired WJE, that engineering firm, so they were in a unique position in the investigation of what happened to the condo. An assessment of blame ended up legally unnecessary, though, as dozens of potential defendants in the ensuing lawsuits wound up settling for more than $1.1 billion, a deal reached almost exactly 1 year, just 1 year after the collapse. Tony Pipitone, NBC6 News.